We are in Proverbs chapter 30, and we are currently beginning on verse 24. In chapter 30, there are 5 observations that Agur writes down. Remember that Agur is the one who is responsible for chapter 30. And we already made mention that we have no idea who Agur happens to be. There is no one in the biblical text anywhere else outside of verse 1, or actually 30 verse 1. There is no other mention of Agur anywhere, or Jaka. There is an Ithiel in Nehemiah, I do believe. But that's way down the line and not associated with any of these names. And in Ukal is this is the only place where we see that. But here we have these 5 observations, things that are too wonderful for me, things that I don't understand, things that the earth, for these 3 things, the earth is perturbed, yes, and for 4 it cannot bear. All right, now we're begin in verse 24, and whereas we have discussed that 3-4 pattern, such as for 3 things the earth is perturbed, yes, for 4 it cannot bear up, okay, that is a Hebrew poetic device. He's not going to use it this go around. In verse 24, he just says, these are 4 things which are little on the earth, but they are exceedingly wise. And he is showing in this, as he already has, going up to verses 18 and 19, he is showing the power in design, that God has designed things in an astonishing way, and he can. And he just lists 4 things. He could have listed enough to where it wouldn't fit in a book. There's too many. But here are things that are little on the earth, but they are exceedingly wise, and they are seemingly powerless, but they do something nevertheless. They do something that it seems like they couldn't do. Or how do they have the sense to do that? Because these things are just minor little things on the earth. We see them that way. But yet, let's go to verse 25. So his first example is, the ants are a people not strong, yet they prepare their food in the summer. They have the sense to know they've got to store things away. They have a sense. And going back to Proverbs chapter 6, as a matter of fact, Proverbs chapter 6, we can see, beginning in verse 6, we can see where the ants are wiser than the sluggard. Go to the ants, you sluggard. And there is a lesson that is there, that the ants are gathering up for winter. They're not just lounging about, enjoying the sunshine, and it's just play and easy time. They are steadily working, preparing for winter to come along. Meanwhile, the sluggard does nothing. The sluggard is just somehow, with a happy-go-lucky attitude, somehow everything's going to be okay. Now, we just look, the ants are a people not strong. All right. Truly, they're not. How many ants have you stepped on? How many times have you been swooped away by an ant? Or your house suddenly taken by ants? Lifted and toted off. Well, never. They can be invaded, that's for sure. But ours was one time in particular. But anyway, they're not very strong at all. Yet they know to do that. How? How do they know? Have you looked at the size of those things? How do they know they need to think about tomorrow? Because I know some folks, they don't think about 10 minutes from now. They don't even think of, if I do this action, this is what's going to happen if I do this action. They're not thinking very far ahead. But somehow the ants are. Ants are not the only thing that does it. Bees. Bees are extraordinary things, as ants are. Now, but all of this happens to be in the design. They are designed to do this. So there is some kind of wisdom that has created all these things. And all of these we're going to see are little, but they have abilities that are just astonishing. Okay, so verse 26. The rock badgers are a feeble folk. Every bit of this is a weakness, all right? The ants, not strong. Okay, that's a weakness. Badgers are a feeble folk, yet they make their homes in crags. Okay, what are crags? Crags are in rocky, very rocky areas, and they either live inside like cracks and crevices big enough for them, but they basically have a fortress. A fortress that would be a rock fortress. They hide in these rocks. And the rock badger is also known as a rock hyrax or a marmot. We don't have them here. Evidently, they are a bit of a pest. But they're a feeble folk. But they've made their homes out of a natural fortress. Or they know to do this. They have these protected strongholds. And now we come to verse 27. The locusts have no king. Here is their limitation. They have no king, yet they all advance in ranks. They're all going in a specific direction. They're all, who's leading them? And we can, personally, I've never seen locusts. All right, I definitely have never seen what we could call a plague of locusts. I've never been there. But there are places on the earth, that they most definitely have them. Here, I've never witnessed it. But I have seen other things that I can't explain who's leading this mass, such as huge flocks of birds. And with some of them, they're making these shapes in the air. Huge amounts of them. And then decide they're gone. Who's the leader here? I don't think you could find a king or a queen. Somehow they're doing this. And I don't know how. And with locusts are doing very, very similar things. Now, they're far more destructive than the birds I watch. But locusts, they advance in ranks of here they're coming, here they are, and now they've left. Well, where'd they come from and where'd they go? From that direction to that direction. That's all I can tell you. And it's saying, all right, who's leading this thing? Who decides it's time to leave? Who decides that we're going in this direction? Who decides? Well, it is in the design, and this is a mystery. This goes back up to verse 18. Things which are too wonderful for me and which I do not understand. How is this even done? Now, we come to verse 28. Verse 28, I'm reading from the New King James, and I will tell you right now, New King James is following the King James 1611, and I don't know where the where the 1611 King James got its ideas from, where its philosophy came from. But this is the reading. The spider skillfully grasps with its hands, and it is in kings' palaces. All right, now, we could talk about that. Spiders being king's palaces. That's true. I have seen spiders move in before the people moved in. I've seen spiders moved in before the construction's over. But I don't know where it gets this why it renders it as spider, because that is not the Hebrew word. The Hebrew word is actually lizard, or even specifically gecko. All right? And if we look at this, with the ants, they are not strong. With the rock badgers, they are feeble folk. With locusts, they have no king. All right, there's weakness, and limitation in all this. Now we come to spider, skillfully grasped with its hands. All right, yeah, that's not showing a weakness. That's actually showing a skill. That doesn't fit with the same idea as the other three. It kind of breaks it. Now, let me read from the American Standard 1901, which I don't think it's got it completely yet. The lizard taketh hold with her hands, yet she is in king's palaces. All right, the ESV, English Standard Version, says the lizard you can take with your hands, yet it is in king's palaces. Now, I think that's more along the right track there. I don't know how the King James, because there's only a few versions, and I do mean few, Young's literal translation and some others that put spider. Everybody else says it's lizard. And are there spiders in Israel? Yes. Are there lizards in Israel? Yes, there are. And they have chameleons, they have geckos. And there is a Hebrew word for gecko, which actually is this. Yes, ma'am?
Yeah, but they're two different species, though.
Well, I know that.
So,
What, a spider and a gecko?
no, a spider and a lizard.
Well, yeah, I know. It's a translation problem. Yeah, it's a translation problem. How did you come up with spider? I don't know, because the Hebrew word is lizard or gecko. It actually is. Okay, yeah. I mean, you're off. Somebody's off. We're just going to say that. So I went in thinking, okay, maybe the King James took their cue from the Septuagint. That is the Greek translation of the Old Testament, 250 BC, when Alexandria, Egypt, when that was done. Maybe they took it from the Septuagint, that the Septuagint put in spider, in Greek, obviously. But no, they didn't. They actually used the Greek word gecko. That's what they used. And so we have NIV. I'm not a fan of the NIV, but a lizard can be caught with the hand, yet it is found in king's palaces. From the Tanakh, that is a modern Jewish Old Testament, you can catch the lizard in your hand, yet it is found in royal palaces. From the Septuagint, this is an English translation of the Septuagint, and the eft, that's an old word, E-F-T. All right, it means lizard. All right. And the eft, which which supports itself by its hands and is easily taken, dwells in the fortress of kings. All right, so which is it? Now, I'm not going to get in an argument over translations other than to say, just ask the question, how'd you come up with spider? All right, what's the deal with spider? And I was trying to figure out who's the first one to decide it was spider anyway. I don't know. I don't know where that came from, but it does mean lizard, and if we want to get specific, gecko. All right, now, I didn't know this past summer when we went to Hawaii that we would see this in action, as a matter of fact. We don't have geckos here. There's little lizards of some sort, and those can get in your house. But geckos, okay, you can't fight them. You're not going to fight them. They come into the house, and they're hard to get. Now, you can catch easily with your hands. Okay, if you're fast enough. If you're fast enough. I mean, they can't overpower you. That'd be pretty bad if they could toss you. But no, if you're fast enough, you can get them. But you got to be fast. You have to be very fast. And for us, Catrice and myself, we had to get accustomed to, we're not getting rid of these things. All right? What's that? Oh yeah, they just come in. They come into the church building. You can't stop them. Lizards.
Oh yeah, they're everywhere.
Yeah, you can't stop them. And I'm just glad we don't have big ones like dinosaurs. That'd be very, very difficult. Guess what's trying to come through the front door now? But anyway, yeah, it's you just had to get accustomed. I'm sitting and something is crossing the wall. Oh, that's a gecko. Now, they don't harm you. They do provide a benefit. They do. They eat bugs. All right, that's a benefit. But if you're not used to them, it kind of like, go away, leave us alone. And trying to get them out of a door is they don't always run the way. Herding geckos, I haven't learned how to do it yet. But anyway, coming back to this, and it's in king's palaces. Yeah, in which brings about a different image for me of someone like Solomon or someone like David or someone like those kings that were in the past in Israel, that they had geckos in their homes. All right, that just kind of changes things for me. That they had common problems just like everybody else, and I think you just have to give up and say, okay, yeah, whatever, just leave them alone, because 10 more are going to replace that one. So anyway, now all of these have a weakness and a limitation about them, yet can do astonishing things. And whether it is the ant, the rock badger, the locust, the lizard or spider, they can each do astonishing things. And that's what he's getting at. They are exceedingly wise. They have a skill about them that you'd wonder, how are they able to do this? Well, they seem driven. Oh, they are driven. They're absolutely driven in this. Now, we come to the fifth observation. Fifth observation is in verse 29. There are three things which are majestic in pace. These are things that he's admiring, and also a matter of creation. These things, there are three things which are majestic in pace, yet four which are stately in walk. And this brings up a concept in this. And it's a concept that there are things universally recognized. One, we universally recognize when something is beautiful. Universally, we know when something is stunning, when it's beautiful, even if, we may not want to be around such things. Now, horses, you can call them handsome. Horses are beautiful. They're beautiful animals. A deer is a beautiful animal. Elephants are astonishing. I wouldn't call them beautiful, but they're powerful. But here is another thing about it, is that of seeing a stately walk, or in this that majestic in pace. There's something universal about it, because he starts off, a lion which is mighty among beasts, and does not turn away from any. All right, and I've not been around a whole lot of lions in my life. I've seen them in zoos. I've even seen them in circuses. When I was a kid, I have seen them obviously in film and whatnot. And to see a lion just walking or whatever, skulking about. There's unmistakable that way that it walks. It is stately. Notice that in this majestic pace and stately walk, he doesn't mention a penguin once, because a penguin isn't stately in walk. Okay, it's more comical. Or a duck, it's more comical. They waddle, and they function, but a lion, you can see a lion. You wouldn't call that waddling. That is a pace. Now he's going to name 3 others, and I think the 4th one is the emphasis. Okay, a greyhound, and greyhounds are beautiful dogs, and yes, there are certain dogs of the larger variety that they do have this nobility about them, this majestic kind of pace about them. Then a male goat also, that you talk about something that's courageous. I mean, a lion is fearless because he's at the top pretty much. A goat is not at the top, but they are extraordinary animals. If you've ever seen them on the sides of mountains and what they do, fearless. And there was a documentary we saw years ago, and it was these snow leopards that they're in this very, very mountainous area. And one would, it starts off showing this snow leopard in what appears to be like this bleak place. And you think, what are they living off of? They living off of love? What are they living off of? There's nothing here. And then they show the goats. And the goats aren't exactly easy prey, because the goats can scamper up and down the mountain, and we're talking about steep, very broken rocks, and the leopards can't go as fast. And it's an astonishing thing. Now, if the leopards could go just as fast and it was easy, there wouldn't be any more goats left, and there wouldn't be any more leopards left. They're done. That's it. But all of this is going into the design in nature. Now we come to the last in this, and a king whose troops are with him. Here is that power that is on display. It's not just a shallow sort of show. This would be real troops and a real king, and that he is secured by his troops. His troops are men of valor and courage, and they are with him. And this is this observation: the lion, the greyhound, the male goat, the king. This sounds like a random list, but that's kind of what he's been doing: ants, rock badger, locust, and lizard or spider. Okay, and of course this is he's limited. Not that he doesn't have any more observations or couldn't add to this, because I think Agur could if he wanted to. But this is making the point. This is making the point. And the big point in this, in these two in particular, plus what we have in verse 18 and 19, are showing the design of nature. Astonishing things are there. And there are things that have been going on since the beginning, since the week of creation, whatever day they were created on. Whether we're talking about distant galaxies, just now being seen within the past few months. Man never saw it before. That galaxy's always been there. Or whether we something that has been going on deep inside on the bottom of the oceans. Been going on since those things were created, and we simply couldn't see it until recently. And there's still, let's not get arrogant, let's not think we know everything that's on the earth. We don't. All right, there's always discoveries being made, always. And these things were created on that first week, on that week of creation. And we're still catching up to what God created so many years ago. Now, we come to verse 32 and 33, ending out this chapter. And here we have what we could definitely classify as Proverbs. The others, these observations, can we learn from those? Yes, we can. Yes, we can. But these are more typical as to proverbial sayings. Verse 32, and this is a warning. These last two actually are warnings. If you have been foolish in exalting yourself, or if you have devised evil, put your hand on your mouth and do it anyway. No, it doesn't say that. Put your hand on your mouth. That means stop. Whatever it is that you've been doing, whatever it is that you know is wrong, if you've been foolish in exalting yourself, put your hand over your mouth. All right? Put your hand on your mouth. Stop what you're doing. Devising evil, stop what you're doing. All right? Because exalting yourself is never liked by God. All right? You do not make yourself more appealing by bragging. You don't make yourself more appealing to God by bragging. All right? You don't. You don't make yourself, He doesn't need you to list your accomplishments. He knows them. He knows what you have done. But He also knows what you've bragged about or what you didn't even speak about. That you did it, but nobody knew. You did it, but it has been kept just nobody knew about it. Some good that was done, something very virtuous, something that shows a good character was done, and it doesn't have to be broadcast. And we've got a generation that they seem to be desiring that, what we call it, viral moments. All right? They desire to have millions of people see them and admire them. And they have the means by which to do it, and many of them make themselves into utter fools doing something. And some have even died attempting something that they think is going to attract them to total strangers on the other side of the world. And there's a self-centeredness to it, which is what exalting yourself is. It is a self-centeredness. And I was in the company of two men, and I wanted to leave the room, but was unable to. In the company of two men, and they're trying to outdo each other. And I wanted to bang my head on something hard because I was getting tired of it. It's like, okay, your turn. Okay, your turn. And they're trying to outdo each other. It's like, stop. Both of you just stop. Because you don't know how you look to the rest of us in this room. You're not gaining any kind of favor to anyone else in this room. And you're definitely not gaining favor to God, even if you are trying to boast and outdo the other person by the great good that you have done, by telling them of the great good that you have done. All right? Now that would go back to intent. Was the intent, the original intent of doing those things just to be able to brag about it 10, 20 years later? I certainly hope not. But it's beginning to look like that. Now, if you have been foolish in exalting yourself. Now we have plenty of things in the book of Proverbs itself. We don't have to leave the book of Proverbs, but we can certainly go all over the place in this. But Proverbs chapter 25 in verse 6, do not exalt yourself in the presence of the king, and do not stand in the place of the great. All right, those in charge, rulers and whatnot, will give a greater honor to you if they know what you've done and you're not trying to gain the limelight out of it. You're not trying to gain any kind of notoriety, that these things have just been done quietly. They've been done modestly and with humility. And so put your hand on your mouth. If you have devised evil. All right, we've got a lot of things we could go into showing just in the book of Proverbs of the what occurs with those who devise evil, that they come up with evil plans. And of course, we see that going back to Genesis chapter 6, of where the thoughts and the intents of their heart was evil continually. Well, that's got to stop. And of course, Jesus showing that sin begins where? Where does it begin?
In the mind.
In the heart, in the mind. Yeah, that's exactly right. It starts there. It doesn't just happen. I guess it could. That would be out of ignorance. That would be the case. But it starts in the heart. It starts in the mind of having been a desire or a temptation, and working from there outward. Now, we come to verse 33. And in verse 33, we have this. For as the churning of milk produces butter, all right, and the wringing the nose produces blood, so the forcing of wrath produces strife. These are all cause and effect. Okay, churning milk produces butter, wringing the nose produces blood, the forcing of wrath produces strife. These are all the natural product, the natural reaction, once again, cause and effect. This is precisely what you can expect in any of this. Now, we come to chapter 31. Chapter 31 is mostly remembered for the virtuous wife. All right, now that will begin in verse 10. Now there are a few things that are here before we get to verse 10. One is the introduction to this chapter as to who wrote it. Then it's going to be this little section of this is what kings do not do. This is what kings do. And then we get into the virtuous wife. And now, this tells us the source of this. All right? Verse 1, the words of King Lemuel, the utterance which his mother taught him. All right? The sayings here are these sayings, the words of King Lemuel's mother is what this is. Now, let's just say a few things in this. There is no king in Israel, or when you have the divided kingdom of southern kingdom of Judah, northern kingdom of Israel. There is no king in any one of those places who was Lemuel. There is no King Lemuel by that name. All right? Doesn't exist. Now, once again, there are those who say this is Solomon giving himself another name. And it could be. It could be that. But being that whoever King Lemuel is, that's a Hebrew name, and it does mean belonging to God. That's what it means. And also, might I add, that the utterance which his mother taught him, that word utterance is often used for that sense of divine inspiration, for that sense of having received knowledge directly from God, like a prophecy would be. While none of this is prophecy per se, it's definitely inspired Word of God. And King Lemuel's mother may very well have been a prophetess. may very well have been. What she's telling him is absolutely the truth, and is Lemuel, beloved to God, belonging to God, is that Solomon? It could be. Don't know. I don't know for sure. It's been taken that way. It just suddenly we have this King Lemuel.
He turned away from God though in his life.
Oh, he did. Yeah. Yeah. Eventually, he did.
Okay.
Yeah. Eventually, Solomon did turn away from God. While he's writing this, he has to be faithful while he's writing this. And of course, to a certain point in his life, he is faithful to God. Building the temple and the extraordinary opening of the temple. The extraordinary event of all the sacrifices that were taking place. And the people being there. All right, and the presence of God obviously there. A righteous king is doing that. Solomon does not remain righteous all his life. He does not. And he plays around with fire, is what he does, doing things that the kings were told not to do. Such as, don't go collecting wives. All right? And don't marry foreign wives. Why? Because, okay, we can see Rahab. Rahab, she was Canaanite. She is from Jericho, and she's in the line of David. What's she, the great-grandmother? Great-grandmother of David. Okay? We also have others in that line, such as Ruth. Not Rahab, I'm sorry. No, I'm thinking of Ruth. No, not Rahab. Rahab's way too early. No, Rahab is in the line of David. She is in the line of David. But there's Ruth coming later. She's a Moabitess. She's not Israel. She's not Jewish. She isn't born Jewish, but she follows her mother-in-law, Naomi, and she marries Boaz. Okay? And there's no condemnation for that. It's not that you cannot ever marry any foreign wife. That's under the law of Moses now. Under the law of Moses, all that's been done away with. But it is that the warning was that this person that you married is going to bring in their gods and goddesses and all of that baggage, all of that with them into the marriage, and they're going to drag you away, or they're going to drag your children away. That's what they're going to do. Now, Solomon, unwisely, and I think it's because he thought he could handle it. But when God says, no, don't do it, that means you don't play around with it. He thought he could handle it. He marries all kinds of women. First wife is an Egyptian princess. She is the daughter of Pharaoh. And it would appear that he marries most of them, if not all of them, I don't know, for political agreements, political arrangements. So he would have had all of his wives, and he would have to have someone keeping up with their names. There would have to be a directory or name tags. It'd have to be. There's too many. There's way too many. And they would also have difficult names because they're coming from all kinds of countries. And they would have been exotic, as in they're coming from places that they do things. It's a very different culture there, and they have different things there. And I think everyone surrounding Solomon was unusual. We'll just put it that way, in a spectacular sort of way. But he messed around and doing things that he wasn't supposed to be doing, and they turned his heart. And that's not a theoretical thing. That's not a potential thing. That's precisely what they did. And he starts creating shrines and little temples and all this all over Israel. And God decides, okay, we're breaking this up. And the kingdom would not be split during his lifetime, but it'd be split after he died, and it would be under Rehoboam that happens, where you have Rehoboam in the south and Jeroboam in the north. We'll continue this. We've run out of time. We'll continue this next week, and appreciate everyone being with us. Thank you.